Okay, so I want to throw this out. The J.J. McCarthy stuff's kind of fascinating to me because he was the one guy in this quarterback class 2 years ago I didn't like. I just didn't see it. I thought he was a bit small. I thought he was athletic enough. I'm always very, very cautious when people say he's a winner. What the F does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. Danny Werfel was a winner. Every Florida coach, every Florida
Devo.
quarterback under Spurrier was a winner. Johnny Manziel was a winner. It doesn't mean anything. I always believe that if you look at most NFL quarterbacks, they had, even Brock Purdy, who I don't love, they had to carry their college offense. Big Ben, Aaron Rodgers, Philip Rivers, Eli Manning. They're not playing with five-star guys. That's why Ohio State, you think, would have 10 great NFL quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud's their first really good one. USC's had very few great NFL quarterbacks. Alabama hasn't. LSU hasn't. Burrow obviously is, but he was a transfer. But J.J. McCarthy, his last 2 years, he threw the ball over 30 times one time. Like, he never trailed. He had a great run game. And so I look at him, and Ross Tucker came out with a story, and I think Ross is a very credible guy. I don't know him, but very credible guy. He said, listen, there's concerns. They wanted to re-sign Darnold. And I heard the same thing. But because of my relationship with Darnold, I wondered if people were telling me that. My source was telling me that because they knew I loved Darnold. But they had said they actually want Sam. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, no, you drafted J.J. McCarthy. He has to play. If Ross Tucker says there's concerns, I believe that. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that going back to that Detroit game when he was really skinny on the sideline, at the end of the season after meeting multiple injuries. And I also think it gets back to the way in which he played. This was not a guy that had to carry his offense in college. He handed the ball off and they played defense, and they had 30 NFL guys over a 2-year span, right? I mean, look at Stetson Bennett was on a team that, any decent quarterback could have navigated. And I think the concerning part is you have to massage this if you're the team. So it's like, okay, Darnold gets 55 plus million guaranteed from Seattle. It's like you can't. They were like, we're not going to give him that. I think they wanted to keep Daniel Jones. Remember, they made a big deal to bring him in on the
Yes.
practice squad last year. But then Chris Ballard starts sniffing around, hey, we'll give you 14, $15 million. So then they're thinking, well, how would this look if we match that or even give them a little bit more?
Right.
Tells everyone we don't believe. So they were kind of in a weird spot. I think they would have loved, Daniel Jones market's only 8 to 10, easier to justify. Once they gave Daniel Jones that money, I don't know, like where you stand on this. I think Daniel Jones is going to be the starter week one, and that was before the kid hit his shoulder, and now it looks like
Oh,
Anthony
yeah, no, no.
Richardson's going to be
He
injured.
was going to beat out Anthony Richardson.
He's going to be the
I
starter.
I had an NFL GM told me he had never, this last year, I texted him about Anthony Richardson. He goes, I've never seen an NFL quarterback that bad on accuracy on shit out in the flat. And those were his exact words. He goes, the layup stuff is brutal. He is badly missing layups. And so I thought Daniel Jones would beat him out in camp. Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video.
Well, to me, what it is a couple years ago, Trey Lance, it was over the moment they signed Sam Darnold as the 2, and then Trey Lance wasn't even on the team. Might be harder to trade Anthony Richardson because of the injury, but I think this team's in a weird spot. They're all in on this roster. It's excellent. And they loaded up because they had J.J. McCarthy's rookie contract. They bought a bunch of guys in free agency. So their team, if you told me they just had Dak Prescott was their quarterback, I'd be like, well, if he just doesn't turn it over in the postseason, this team's going to be tough.
Yeah.
You put Brock Purdy on there, Super Bowl favorites, right? But this guy's never started an NFL game. And even going back to, remember Harbaugh was suspended and Sharon Moore, they didn't even pass the ball in the second half against Penn State. It was a special team that he got to, orchestrate and run as a quarterback. He was not asked like most of these quarterbacks in 2025. So I'm very concerned because a lot of times also young quarterback like Caleb got drafted number 1 overall. It went shitty, but ultimately it's like, okay, the Bears hadn't made the playoffs. The expectations for this team, well, they just won 14 games. If they won like 9 games and missed the playoffs, it would be catastrophic. It'd be there's a lot of pressure on a guy. I don't remember the last time a guy that was drafted this high was like expected anything less than the NFC Championship game. It gets to the Trey Lance and Anthony Richardson. Obviously, Trey was on a team that was expected to compete for the Super Bowl. So it's different than just going to a team typically drafting in the top five. The Colts, same thing. Like you draft this guy in the top five, he's expected to be a playoff level quarterback. That's different than just going to some crappy team. Like ultimately, Jaden Daniels, who was incredible, the pressure on them to start the year wasn't that high, right? If they would have won 6, 7 games, he exceeded everything. Same thing with CJ Stroud a couple years ago, but they got to kind of sneak up on everyone. There's no sneaking up. Minnesota is, I would say, one of the marquee teams in the league coming into the year. It's a tough spot for a young player that's like, what if week 2 we're down 10 and we're going to need you to throw it 45 times? And then all of a sudden Justin Jefferson's not getting the ball. We know how those wide receivers are. I wouldn't blame him. I'd be like, what's going on here, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I think it's a real thing. And again, I was a big Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix. I think Penix is a bigger Tua. The one that never worked for me with J.J. McCarthy. It's also interesting is what if Sam Darnold pops? What if Sam, and my guess is Sam won't be as good as he was in Minnesota. He doesn't have, he doesn't have DK Metcalf, and the receiving group won't be as good as Minnesota, and you're not going to have Kevin O'Connell. So Sam's numbers are not going to be the same. But I actually think Seattle's roster is okay. Probably a weaker division. What do you expect? I mean, I think Darnold will have a B season. He had an A season with an ugly ending, bad final chapter, but that was an A season. I mean, week 15, we were talking MVP. I don't think we're talking that. I think he's going to be a better, more athletic, younger version of Geno Smith. What do you think?
Well, Kubiak, remember early on in the season last year before injuries really came up, the Saints looked awesome on offense. So it's like that offense works. It's easy for quarterbacks. And Sam's already done it 2 years ago when Kubiak, who's the offensive coordinator now in Seattle, was the quarterback coach, offensive coordinator with Kyle in San Francisco. Their defense, little teaser here. I think we're going to play it next week. I had John Schneider on the podcast today. We recorded a podcast, and I was looking at their roster. They actually have a lot of young, impactful guys on defense. They've drafted pretty well on defense the last couple of years. And Mike McDonald, if he coached offense instead of defense, I think we would be talking about him like a Kyle. Like they went 10-7 last year. It's not like they won 4 or 5 games. So why couldn't they go 10-7 again? And he's just on a capable. They're just a well-run franchise, right? Schneider brings that Green Bay, McDonald from the Ravens,
Baltimore.
obviously the Pete Carroll influence. They're just a well-run, stable operation. They're not going to suck. He's not going to look completely overwhelmed. Obviously, in the biggest moments, it was a little concerning last year. But they're not trying to probably try to win 14-15. I mean, ideally, they would love to. But they're going to be – I'd be stunned if they're not over 500. And it's not going to go poorly. And there's no way – what he just did last year in Minnesota, it's impossible. J.J. can't do that. I mean, he threw 35 touchdowns. So my question is, can he throw like 24, 25, not turn the ball over, and they just have a really well-rounded team, like kind of like a Jimmy Garoppolo San Francisco situation of like 2019, 2021. That to me is the best case scenario. But that's not easy to do, right? I mean, you're in a division that's really good. Their schedule this year, the NFC North, who they're playing, is really hard for all 4 teams. Obviously, the divisional games are going to be knockdown dragouts. I mean, one thing they really did early on with Sam is, remember, they were blowing people out early, like the Texans, the Niners. They were killing people. So they got to kind of got off and running. They were like 5-1, just kicking everyone's ass. It's a different level of pressure. The other thing is the health wise. I mean, this is a guy that got injured in training camp and then needed another surgery. Can he take NFL hits? What's he going to feel like on a week in, week out basis? Is he going to be available for 17 games? I think there are just a lot of question marks when it comes to I think he's one of the bigger stories in the NFL. What is this guy? Is he any good? Is he good enough? How good is he?